So I wanted to go through this example. Now, starting off at the top, and this is the issue that we're trying to get to now with this video. People are emailing too much. There's this weird misconception in B2B marketing where the more people you email, you think the better results you're going to get. If I email my whole database, I'm going to get, X times more responses than if I email half my database. But really, we need to be far more considered about who we're emailing in our database and do a lot of the marketing ops grunt work to really narrow down our target market for each email send. And obviously that's going to improve our conversion rates. So we wanted to go through this really basic scenario just to prove that and just to show you kind of different ways or different issues that you might have within your data. So starting off at the beginning here. So say you've got a database, 150, 200,000 or something, and you're trying to email most of the people in your database. And from that, you got 20,000 opens and 3,000 clicks. So that's a 20% open rate and a 3% click-through rate, kind of around about the average. Now, jumping back over to here for ZoomInfo, they've got a lot of statistics about dirty data. So I'm not going to go through all of these numbers here, but I've pulled out some of the more interesting ones. You can find this from if you just type in ZoomInfo and dirty data, and they've each got a source, to other companies and pages, kind of like SiriusDecisions and others. So, this is what a lot of companies do. They've got something they want to send. They choose a huge portion of the database. They send it and they wonder why they're only getting 3% of people engaging.
Well, they also were like, can I broaden the list? I want to make sure I get more engagements.
Right.
And you just see those conversion rates go down, which is, I think you're going to go through in a second, but this could be why.
Now, from the ZoomInfo tab I was just on. So 7% of leads contained invalid email addresses. 25% of the average B2B database is inaccurate. 10% of leads contain invalid information. So if we do the work in our database, I guarantee you that most people listening to this would be able to find around about 15% of their database is bad data. Now, if we reduce that bad data is never going to engage.
No.
So you are, if you remove that 15%, obviously from your send, that's obviously going to improve your conversion rates. And if you look at this, get your send down to 85,000. These numbers don't change because you're still emailing the people that will engage. Like I said, the 15,000 people were never ever going to engage because they are literally just bad data, and it's going to get caught up and what's sent to into the ether, and not a human's going to see that. So that's your open rate is going to improve to 23.5%. Your click-through rate is going to improve to 3.5%.
Yeah, and I think we didn't even add on here, but just doing that could also just improve how many people the email actually gets delivered to, or people that could, convert on it. So even if we say the same number of people engage, but you take out people that, wouldn't have converted on it anyway, you could actually even get more conversions, which then boosts your number as well. Because if you're emailing people from that company who no longer work there, the spam trap's going to be, smart enough to be like, oh, hey, this person's spamming us, don't deliver the emails.
Right.
And so that could then kind of bump your delivery rate or engagement there. So,
yeah. So then moving on. So we've reduced our database by 15%. No skin off our back. They weren't going to engage anyway.
Yeah.
Then 37% of email addresses change annually. 30% of people change their jobs annually. Sources, you can go review it in the ZoomInfo tab that I mentioned. So taking a conservative approach, right? How many of you have data that you've had in the system for 5 years, 4 years, 3 years, definitely over a year? It's going to be a huge percentage of your database. How often are you reviewing that, using tools to be able to figure out if that data is still legitimate, and then purging old data? How many people are also adding new cold data, right? I have a strong opinion about doing that. I don't think it's the right thing to do, to add just cold data to your database. But and then email it. Obviously, there might be a place for just adding cold data, but just emailing it off the bat and including it in your marketing programs is probably not the right thing to do. But how much of that cold data is just going to come in and be one of these people that's already changed their job? A lot of these data vendors, they are working hard to try and make sure the data is accurate, but are they updating that all of their data every single year? I think that might be a difficult challenge.
Yeah.
So I would say a conservative amount of your database has probably left the company, and not all of those emails will bounce right away. Right? How many people have you been on, the recipient of emails that we've just been forwarded to you after one of your colleagues has left, right? Yeah. So let's just reduce the database size down by 25% by taking out old data, putting on a date filter. Maybe you want to remove any data that's older than a year and hasn't engaged in the last year. You can be more conservative or more kind of gung-ho depending on what you're trying to do there.
And we're not even saying like remove them from the database. Just don't even include them on your list. Like you don't even need to be like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to delete all these records. No, just don't include them, or make sure you have them part of a suppression list that you're not emailing.
So remove that 25%. Now you're sending to about 60,000. Your click-through rate is 4.7 and your open rate is 31. Now, this one's a little bit more, I don't have a stat from ZoomInfo on this, but just past experience, and please email me, message me on LinkedIn if you think I'm wrong. But I would say a lot of the time, our segmentations aren't where they need to be in our marketing automation platform. Our data isn't where it needs to be able to run our segmentations properly. We're probably including a lot of the wrong audience, right? Like say you're trying to go after people in IT, but you're accidentally kind of emailing some people in marketing. So that there's going to be a degree of your audience that is just the wrong audience, but in the eagerness to improve or increase the list size to keep the rest of the company happy, to show that we're doing a lot of marketing and trying to engage people, we're emailing the wrong people. So call it 20%. Now we've got our list down to almost half where it was before, which of course is going to double our click-through rate. So we started off with a click-through rate of 3%, and just going through relatively conservatively, we can double our click-through rate without actually changing what we're doing from the actual content and email point of view.